He's accused of living the high life to the tune of $23 million instead of using public and taxpayer funds to help the homeless.
America, how does a man hired to feed homeless end up buying a $7 million mansion in Westwood? We're talking about $23 million stolen in taxpayer funds, gone in a single scheme, while the state of California admits that they lost track of billions.
People are literally dying. And this guy is out vacationing, buying homes, buying Range Rovers, and going shopping.
Federal agents finally put the cuffs on Alexander Soofer. This charity was supposed to house and feed 600 homeless people across southern Los Angeles. Instead, Alex was serving them canned beans and breakfast bars while he pocketed $10 million for himself.
There are people out there that will take advantage, and that's always been our suspicion, is that there's been very little oversight.
We've been following California's homeless crisis for a while, and the pattern obviously is super crystal clear. Billions go in, tents stay on the street, and people run these quote-unquote charities and get rich. What is up, guys? Tyson DELACRUZ here. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Let me break down exactly how Alexander Soofer pulled off this $23 million scam right under the noses of Los Angeles city officials who were supposedly monitoring these contracts.
According to the complaint, Soofer, through his charity, received millions in tax money from the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority. That he lied about payments to third-party vendors for housing services, diverting the funds to his personal bank account.
Between 2018 and 2025, Alex received more than $23 million in homeless housing funding. Of that, $5 million came directly from LAHSA, and more than $17 million came through a downtown LA-based nonprofit called Special Service for Groups, Inc. Alex had contracts to provide 3 healthy meals a day that were supposed to be healthy, balanced, and meet participants' quote-unquote nutritional needs. Instead, investigators found his sites were serving ramen noodles. Homie was serving ramen noodles, canned beans, and breakfast bars.
This is what he was providing. Ramen noodles and a microwave. He probably spent $100 you see in that picture, and he pocketed the rest of the money.
While homeless people were eating ramen noodles, Alex was living like a king. Here's where your tax money actually went. $7 million for a Westwood mansion, millions more for upgrades for that particular mansion, $125,000 for a Range Rover, private school tuition for his children, private jet travel across the country, luxury resort stays from Hawaii to Florida, $475,000 for a vacation property in Greece. But Alex just didn't steal money. He created an elaborate cover to hide what he was actually doing. And this is where the fraud gets really sophisticated.
He lied to investigators when confronted. He provided fake invoices to make it appear that the payments to third vendors were legitimate. They were not.
Alex created fake invoices at times, stealing the names, addresses, and logos of real companies to make it appear that vendor and rent payments were actually legitimate. He made it look like he was paying third-party landlords at market rate when he was actually paying himself above market rate.
He provided a whole raft of fraudulent documentation trying to legitimize the fraud that he had been conducting.
When an LAHSA investigator asked Alex if his charity board knew how he was spending the money, he said they did. But the investigator later learned that the board was completely fake. Some of the people didn't even exist, and others never even heard about Abundant Blessings or Mr. Alex. This wasn't sloppy toppy time on the street corner. This wasn't sloppy bookkeeping. This was organized crime disguised as charity work. And while Alex was creating fake boards and fabricating invoices, the homeless people he was supposed to be helping were absolutely getting nothing. No proper shelter, no healthy meals, just ramen noodles, canned beans, breakfast bars, while he flew on private jets. Now let's talk about Special Service for Groups, the massive NGO that funneled $17 million to Alex Soofer.
We need to have a real conversation around how homeless dollars are spent, the accountability of service providers.
Soofer, the defendant, this afternoon was arraigned in federal court in Orange County. Only after federal prosecution would he then stand trial for separate state charges.
SSG is what we're going to call it. SSG's revenue hit $223 million in 2024. This is a massive organization with hundreds of employees and supposedly sophisticated financial control. Yet they could not spot a $23 million swindle happening right under their nose.
California is spending more on the homeless crisis each year, and the number on the street continues to climb. Last year's homeless number over 181,000.
This is the business model. The state sends billions and billions of dollars to NGOs. The NGOs send consulting fees to friends, families, and the tents stay on the street so they can ask for more money next year. This is a perpetual money machine where the only people who don't get benefits are the homeless people and the taxpayers. And here's what should terrify you. SSG received over $100 million in taxpayer funds despite failing to comply with federal audit mandates for years. They were supposed to submit annual audits to show how they spent federal money, but obviously they didn't, and the money just kept flowing anyways.
The Weingart Center has been awarded over $100 million in taxpayer funds despite years of failing to comply with federal audit mandates.
The entire system is corrupt, and in April 2025, the LA County Board of Supervisors finally admitted it by literally defunding LAHSA and stripping them of $300 million because they couldn't account for where the money's going.
When proven solutions lose funding, homelessness doesn't stay flat. It may rise.
That warning from LAHSA's interim CEO as the agency faces $300 million in budget cuts after an audit revealed a lack of transparency in their spending.
That is $2.3 billion. Just poof.
California has spent billions of dollars on homelessness programs over the past 5 years, but a new report finds the state failed to properly monitor all that spending on all those programs.
The state audit found that nobody was tracking to see if any of the billions in homeless funding was actually reducing homelessness. The state couldn't measure the effectiveness of the programs, couldn't track where the dollars were going.
Not only did the audit struggle to measure the effectiveness of the programs that we're spending money on, in most cases, we don't have enough information to even measure the outcomes of the programs.
So California spent $24 billion on homelessness over 5 years, and nobody knows if it helped a damn person. But we do know it helped people like Alex buy a $7 million mansion. And the Alex case isn't even the most brazen fraud that we've seen. Remember the Lincoln Safe Sleep Village? A judge called it obvious fraud in November 2025 because the city was paying for 88 beds, but only 40 existed. 2.3 million gone. Federal prosecutors announced charges against 2 LA real estate developers. We covered that story a while ago, accused of fraud and misuse of public homelessness funds. One developer allegedly made a $2.2 million payment to his personal credit card using Project HomeKey money.
But we are going to follow the money. We're going to follow every dollar, and we want to make sure the money went to its intended objective, which is to assist the homeless. And if any of it was diverted for personal use or other use that wasn't authorized, we intend to criminally prosecute those individuals.
U.S. Attorney Bill Asaley said we are tracking the billions of dollars in public money that is intended to address homelessness. Too often, this money has been quote unquote wasted, quote unquote mismanaged, or outright stolen. The Trump administration isn't waiting for California to fix itself. With the funding freeze hitting February 1st, the feds are auditing every single dime that has been sent to California for homelessness services. And the victims of these scams are relieved that somebody is finally holding criminals accountable. One woman whose business information was stolen for fake invoices said, "You made my day." The Trump administration created a homelessness, fraud, and corruption joint task force specifically to investigate where all the money went. And obviously they're finding fraud everywhere they look.
And frankly, we were starting from the bottom up, and we began brand new investigations with the IRS and the FBI, and it's already culminated in 2 separate indictments, and I can assure you that more will come.
America Alexander Soofers stole $23 million meant for homeless people and bought a $7 million mansion while serving victims ramen noodles. But he's just one criminal in a system designed to enable fraud. California spent $24 billion on homelessness and can't account for where $2 $2.3 billion went. LAHSA was defunded and lost $300 million because they couldn't track the spending. The Lincoln Safe Street Village was an obvious fraud with $2.3 million stolen. And massive NGOs like SSG funnel hundreds of millions of dollars with zero oversight. The Trump administration is finally bringing accountability to this corrupt system, the homeless industrial complex. The funding freeze starts February 1st, and the federal prosecutors are tracking where every dollar went. Alex is facing 20 years in federal prison, and prosecutors promise more arrests are coming. Let me know what you think about this. Drop it down in the comment section down below. Smash the like button if you kindly would. Share, subscribe, and as always, guys, I'll catch you on the next one.